I'm a software developer. I have the best job in the world. It's a job that I kind of didn't go to school for, but I wanted to talk to you about the Agile method. But to tell you that story, I have to tell you how I became a software developer. So when I was a kid, I loved Star Trek. Who likes Star Trek? Yeah? Everybody wants to be Kirk, right? I didn't want to be Kirk. I wanted to be Scotty, right? Kirk goes down to the planet, he has to beat up aliens. Yeah, he gets the girls and that sort of stuff. But Scotty got to play with the toys, right? That's what I wanted. And when I was 13, I decided that I wanted to build a spaceship. So I went to the encyclopedia, looked up spaceships, and the first thing I saw was the Apollo capsule floating down with the parachute, right? So, okay, I need to build a parachute. So what I did is I learned about timers, and I built this little timer board, and what I did is I built a giant drag chute made out of IGA bags for my bike, right? I put a timer on the IGA bags on my bike, and then what I did is I went up to the Humber Valley, and I started biking down this hill really fast, as fast as I could, and the timer was on 5 seconds, right? 4, 3, 2, 1, boom! Ignition, the bag went out, the chute deployed, and I hadn't studied mass or momentum at that point. So the bike stopped, right? And you know, when the little lady called the police, all she said was, "I saw a boy flying through the air." So that was launch attempt 1. Experience is what you get when you don't get what you wanted, right? So I went to school and learned about software, but I was very shy, but I wasn't scared. And I had trouble talking to humans. So humans are complex. Oh my God, they have feelings, they have emotions. I just want to write software, right? With software, you tell the API, right? Load, it loads. Easy, right? You know, pass a parameter, it works. Oh man, have you ever gone on a date? Oh my God, it's so hard. You have to make conversation, what did you do? And, oh, can I just hand you my resume? So as time developed, I actually started building databases and architectures, and I got a great job with CBS. But I still trying to get into space. And CBS was building this really neat contract for Levi's. All these corporate wigs, they all sleep with each other, right? And it turns out that Levi's was losing half their shipments of their jeans to theft. So we built a little timer that called the satellite, called the Iridium Satellite Network, and we were able to detect when cargo containers were lifted open where they weren't supposed to be, right? So my first space software, I was very happy. I was 20. And then I discovered that I really needed to learn how to talk to humans. This was an important skill. And because as more people use my software, the more humans I talk to, right? And these business meetings, it'd be like me, and I'd be like in my hoodie and my jeans, and sort of wearing running shoes now. And you know, I'd be sitting there, and the people would be sitting over here in suits, and you know, I would talk, but they didn't understand me, and they would talk, and I didn't understand them. And so what started to happen is I started to read about this method called Agile development. And what Agile was, it turns out that I'm not the only one who has this problem. A lot of software developers in the 90s had this problem. And we were building huge, bloated systems, millions and millions of dollars. They were late, over budget. So they did this study. It turns out that 85% of all software projects failed. That's 1 in 6. So imagine you tell your significant other, can you please go and take the garbage? And there's a 1 in 6 chance they'll do it. That's not success. So the tenets, there's 4 planks to Agile development. 1 is collaboration over process and tools. That's right, gotta learn to talk to humans. So what they do is they bring people together into iterations. Iterations are very small sprints. And the key is diversity. So you need to find people who are different than you, and that is hard. When you think that you don't want to interact and that sort of stuff. So we were forced in situations where I would be sitting with somebody who's an expert in business, another person who's an expert in other things, and then CBS took us out to a bar and got us drunk. So that we'd talk to each other. Because we actually wouldn't, we'd sit in a room and I'd be programming on a computer. You know, and they, hey, do you want to talk to Jane over here? No, I don't really want to talk to Jane, but so they took us to this bar called Mangoes in Miami Beach. When you go to Mangoes in Miami, we're talking very quickly. So I learned how to talk to people, and it's amazing. So the second plank is functioning software over documentation. What that means is, how many has ever seen an ad for something and went out and bought it and opened it up and it wasn't like the ad? It didn't work, right? That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is every 2 weeks, you hand the customer something that works. Here, instead of going to a bunker and invent a cell phone or a new network, why don't you come back in 2 weeks and show us what you got? Let's talk about it. Let's iterate. And it turns out that we all had this skill in kindergarten. So I run this, so I've become a little more social, as you might imagine, and I run this exercise called the Marshmallow Challenge. Has anybody heard of this? Yeah, it's out of Stanford University. Very good. So, don't give away the secret. So what it is you try and build a structure out of spaghetti and a marshmallow, right? And it turns out, I've done this for CEOs and kindergarten students. It turns out that the kindergarten students always build the highest, most interesting structures. Why is that? Because they're not scared. They're not afraid of looking bad. They're not afraid of looking not cool to their friends. They don't care. They're just like, okay, let's go ahead and do it. Start building stuff. And if you do these for CEOs, it's funny because the CEOs will sit there and they'll start, and they actually will all sit around and they'll start looking at it. They'll look at it. Is Bob going to start? Bob, can you start first? Now, something magical happens when you take an admin assistant, right? These are wonderful people because admin assistants have a fantastic skill. They facilitate. If you stick an admin assistant at the table, all of a sudden the CEO will start building stuff. It's amazing, right? So that's diversity, right? So I started building this new software, and I got hired in the public sector, and it's actually a very agile environment. And as we built more software, it came to the other tenet, which is change. Change is a reality we all have. Change kind of sucks, but instead of fearing change fear. Change what fear means to you, right? Everybody has fears. We're all scared. I take regularly now. I'm scared of that before, right? But you need to change that fear. You need to find out what that is and change it. And finally, as I'm closing out, I just want to say that happiness is not something you find. Happiness is something you make. You want to make a life, you make a life by one way. You try.